Is romance dead?
No.
Ooh. No. Why do you say no?
Because you have to have hope. I mean, it's all mindset. You know, for me, it's all mindset. I know we were talking earlier with our friend, is it Deanna, who was here.
Yeah.
You know, and every city I've lived in, and you might have seen this too since you've lived a number of places, it's the same story. You'll hear people who live, it doesn't matter if it's Atlanta, it doesn't matter if it's Miami, it doesn't matter if it's South Carolina, it doesn't matter if it's Scotland. Everywhere, you either have one of two mindsets. Either you think you can find love or you think you can't. And either way, you are right.
You are, and that mindset dictates your experience.
It does. Because if you think you can't, you think it's the city. You blame everything else.
Yeah.
You're like, so I see so many people here in Atlanta who are like, I'm going to move to Savannah. I'm going to move to wherever. Because they think the answer is the city. And that's not the answer. It's you. You know, like you have to be open. And I see this with my girlfriends too. And they're always like, you always find people to talk to. And I'm like, because like, I don't want to say I'm not as picky as you, but I'm not as closed-minded. Like,
right. Not as jaded, not as closed-minded. And the way you've got to think that if your mind is telling your brain you're not going to find someone, that dictates how you show up in the world. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't make you as expressive, maybe as open, as smiley as to say, hey, I'm a person that you can approach. Because if you look like, you know, you got resting bitchy, resting bitchy face, like, don't even come and talk to me. You know,
and they won't. They'll be like, I'm not coming over there.
Yeah, because you look mean and you know who you are.
But women want a man to come to their house, knock on their door, and be like, I'm love, here, I found you. And it never is going to happen like that. Like, it never happens.
No, I totally agree. So you believe romance is a mindset. And if you believe in it, it's going to find you. And so it sounds like you would enjoy being courted.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it.
It's interesting because I had another question. What's the biggest obstacle to dating? When I ask you that, what's the biggest obstacle to dating? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Accessibility.
Ooh, accessibility.
How accessible are you? And that's both ways, you know, because, you know, you could be your new, okay, so I'm thinking of a number of things, but the main thing is, you know how a lot of people, we grew up thinking there's one soulmate for you out there. Yeah. You have to find this needle in a haystack. It's your mission in life to find this needle in a haystack of the billions of people in the world. And I also feel that's not true. I feel like wherever you're dropped in time and space, geographically, there's someone there for you. Yeah. You know, it just really doesn't matter what the situation is. You can find them.
But you have to be open to the experience.
You have to be open, and then you have to remember that you yourself also aren't perfect, so don't be out here looking for the 10, and you're not necessarily a 10 on every level yourself.
Amen. I almost want to high five you because I'm so tired of people telling me who they want.
Perfection.
And it's like, you're not that.
The Adonis of a man, like, yeah.
Girl, you know, I want him to he's got to at least make 6 figures.
Can't have kids, never been married, and you're 40 and you can't have never. Everyone's been married by now. Like, when I say everybody, so many people have been married by now, and they've had kids, and they got a divorce, and like, it's not never going to be perfect.
Yeah. I think that's a healthy dose of realism that really is important, that I see more realism in men than I do in women in general. And so just being able to know who you are and to be able to say, okay, here's what I have to offer, but to not be looking for perfection. It just doesn't exist, you guys. It really doesn't. And I think that's an important statement that you made, because so many people, I have people say to me, I believe in the law of attraction. Yeah, you know, what you put out there, you get back. And then 30 minutes later, we'll be talking about relationships, and they'll say, I can't find anybody. Like, what? You just told me,
Nobody's
so
out
it's not
there.
my job to say that, but I just think it. It's like, oh, so you're having trouble finding a relationship. That's what I'll say. But it's like, didn't you just tell me in my mind that you law of attraction? So it's kind of interesting. So here's another word, and everybody knows that this is a trigger word for me, but I'm going to say it. Mm-hmm. What does the word submissive mean to you?
Oh, Lord, yes. I think it depends on how you define submissiveness, because I think it means so many different things to so many different people. I'll just tell you, like, where I am in life right now, and ask me 6 months or 2 years from now, it may be different, but what I think it means is level of respect for a person. You respect a person enough to say it does not have to be my way all the time.
So it's applicable to both men and women.
I think it is, yeah. I think people hear that word, and from a biblical sense, especially in the Black community, we hear that word as like, wives, be submissive to your husbands, blah, blah, blah. And men take that like, you gotta listen to me because the Bible says you have to listen to me.
Because I have a penis.
Yeah.
I get so mad about that. Because I have a penis, therefore you should submit to me. It doesn't even make sense.
My word is final because I'm the dude.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah,
and
it doesn't.
No, it doesn't make sense. I think it is respect, but that goes both ways. And it's enough to say, like, you don't have to, you don't have to win all the time. It doesn't have to be you all the time. Sometimes it's the woman's way that wins this time, and sometimes it's the guys or your partners, whomever you are. It's not a dictatorship.
Yeah. I used to tell my kids though it was a loving dictatorship.
Well, kids are a whole other thing.
I know, huh?
You do live in the
like
kingdom
I need
with
to
your
be in charge.
You are the queen in your kingdom with your yeah.
What is non-negotiable in a relationship for you?
What will I personally not put up with?
Yeah.
Disrespect. I do not do disrespect, not ever. It probably gets me in trouble more often than not.
No, respect is important.
Yeah.
It says I value you. I don't have to always agree with you, but I value you as a human being. Mm-hmm. Yeah, respect is important.
Yeah, disrespect. And when I think about that, I think of like the whole fighting fair thing. Like, are we fighting fair when we are in disagreement? So I would say disrespect is number one. And non-negotiables, I think you have to love yourself, because if you don't love you and you're not happy with you, you're going to be looking at me like I'm supposed to bring all this joy and perfection to your world, and I'm never going to live up to that. Like, I'm never going to be everything you need. Like, you have to have some inner peace, joy, all that for yourself first. And I think that's a non-negotiable also. Yeah.
So a non-negotiable is someone who really doesn't value themselves. Yeah. I think that's important. I think it's when we're dating, it's harder to see. I don't know if we see that necessarily right off, but we can tell by the way people respond if they can't take compliments, if you hear them sort of downplaying themselves all the time. And I'm not talking about somebody who's braggadocious, not somebody who's narcissistic. But most of us can say, thank you so much. Yeah, I really worked hard on that. Or I'm so glad you liked it. Or, yes, there are a lot of people doing what I do, but I'm glad you can see the value in what I do. And so when people when they've had traumas or things like that, it can be very, very difficult for them to value themselves when the people in their lives as a child didn't value them. So it takes a minute to see it, but it's definitely there. So that's really, I love that. You're the first person to say that.
Oh, yay.
It's really, I really, really like that. And that doesn't mean, I want to be really clear. There are a lot of us who experience trauma, or we haven't had the best childhood, the best parents, or people who really saw the value in us. But at some point, we have to decide that that's not going to be our story. And we have to invest in ourselves. And so I think that's what you're saying is, yeah, somebody who likes themselves. Because I think somebody in the audience could take that from what I was saying, not what you were saying. But what I was saying is like, people have had traumas. You can see how they might not like themselves. And I'm not by any stretch saying that everybody who's gone through trauma, what I'm saying is that a lot of us have been through things that people haven't valued us. They haven't stepped up for us. And so at some point we have to say for ourselves that, yes, I am valuable, I matter. And when you have someone like that in your life who's your partner, it's very, very dynamic. It can be incredibly dynamic because you are each growing one another. Lovely answer. Lovely answer. I really love that. That was my fave.
Okay.
What do you wish you would have learned from your parents about relationships?
How to fight fear.
How to fight fear.
You know why? Because growing up, and I didn't know this until I was an adult. Because you live in your house, what you experience, you feel is normal.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I got into the world and started having my own relationships, I realized I never saw my parents argue about anything. We could tell if they were maybe at odds with each other or they didn't like something someone did. They might mutter under their breath, like, your mother doesn't communicate, or something. But, they never had an open debate, argument, fight, anything in front of us ever. And I asked my mom, like, what did y'all do? And she was like, it's so mysterious even to this day. She was like, it was all resolved behind closed doors.
Right. And then how do you learn from that?
Yeah. So I had to learn that I needed to learn how to fight better, like to fight fear, because I hadn't seen it modeled. And that was hard, Aries.
She's an Aries. Fighting fear is important, so I could see where you'd want to have that modeled, so that would be something that you would either consciously or unconsciously have in your toolkit for communicating with your partner.
Yeah. And, for the longest, I thought when a guy opposed me about something and didn't agree with me, and I was saying, I don't want to come across like a brat, like I'm so like I gotta have my way, but I just had never seen it, and I was like, I saw it as disrespect. I was like, that's so disrespectful. Like, why would you ever?
Why would you ever not give me my way?
Who does that?
I know. Yeah. No, it's really kind of you to laugh about yourself, because I know it's not always easy.
Yeah.
To say those things. And so again, thank you because it sounds like that's something that you thought earlier, but it sounds like you're in a different place now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've come a long way. So, and again, I don't think this would be here without that. So.
Yeah. And I honestly, I think a lot of us in our youth are pretty headstrong, and when we don't have those tools in our toolkit, we just know that we want it our way. Mm-hmm. And so it becomes really difficult to have a relationship.